Grant Hartley had it all figured out. Millionaire by 30, successful real estate empire, freedom to work 80-hour weeks without anyone complaining. He'd walked away from his marriage 2 years ago, convinced he'd made the right choice. Career over commitment, ambition over love, success over everything else. He told himself he was happier alone. Told himself his ex-wife would be fine. Told himself divorce was the mature decision for two people who wanted different things. He told himself a lot of lies. But on one ordinary Tuesday, rushing through a hospital to visit his mother, Grant took a wrong turn, pushed through the wrong door, ended up on the wrong floor, and saw something through a window that shattered every comfortable lie he'd been living. His ex-wife, Sloane, the woman he'd left behind without looking back. She was there, in a delivery room, screaming through labor, very pregnant, very married, to someone else, someone richer, someone better, someone who'd given her everything Grant couldn't. 3 babies, triplets, a whole family, a whole life, built without him. And in that moment, standing frozen outside that door, Grant Hartley finally understood exactly what he'd thrown away. But was it too late? Could he ever make it right? Or would he have to watch the love of his life build her happy ending with someone else? This is the story of what happens when you realize your biggest mistake at the worst possible moment, when the past collides with the present in a hospital hallway, and when second chances aren't always given to those who ask. Stay with me, because this story, it's not what you think. And the ending, it's going to change everything you believe about love, loss, and what it really means to heal. Let's begin. Code Blue in Delivery Room 7. The announcement crackled through the hospital speakers. Sloane Mitchell barely heard it over the roaring in her ears. Her body was doing something she couldn't control, couldn't stop, couldn't even pause to catch her breath. Another contraction hit. She gripped the hospital bed rail. Metal bit into her palms. Cold, hard, real. Breathe through it, the nurse said. Rosemary, Nurse Rosemary Davis. She had kind eyes and steady hands. That's it. You're doing great. Sloane wasn't doing great. She was 37 weeks pregnant with triplets. Her water had broken during dinner 2 hours ago. Brennan had been explaining a merger to potential investors. She'd felt the gush, looked down at the expensive restaurant chair, said 4 words that ended the meeting immediately. The babies are coming. Now she was here. Labor and delivery. Room 7. Everything happening too fast. The door burst open. Vivian Carson rushed in. Her best friend looked panicked. Hair everywhere. Mascara smudged, still in her work clothes. I'm so sorry I'm late. Vivian grabbed Sloane's hand, squeezed tight. Traffic was a nightmare. Where's Brennan? Tokyo. Sloane's voice came out tight, strained. Meeting, he's on a plane right now. He knows? Wesley's handling it. Private jet. He'll be here. Another contraction built. Sloane counted. 1, 2, 3. Breathe. 4, 5, 6. Breathe. The same way she used to count before every difficult conversation with Grant. Before she'd ask him to come home earlier. Before she'd suggest they needed to talk. Before she'd finally asked for the divorce. I need you to not think about him, Vivian said. She knew. She always knew. This is your day, your moment. Grant Hartley doesn't get to be in your head right now. Sloane nodded, focused on the ceiling tiles. White, sterile, 16 across, 24 down. She'd counted them 3 times already. Dr. Celeste Morrison entered. Tall, confident, gray hair pulled back in a neat bun. She'd delivered hundreds of multiples. Sloane trusted her completely. Let's check your progress. Morrison's voice was calm, professional, the kind of voice that made you believe everything would be okay. She examined Sloane quickly, efficiently. You're at 7 centimeters, moving fast. How are you feeling? Terrified, Sloane admitted, and excited and terrified. Data. That's perfectly normal. Dr. Morrison smiled, warm, genuine. Your babies are doing well, all 3 heartbeats strong. We're monitoring closely. If anything changes, we'll adjust the plan. Sloan nodded, tried to focus, but something felt off, wrong. Like a shadow at the edge of her vision, a premonition she couldn't name. "What is it?" Vivian asked. She was watching Sloane's face. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, everything, I don't know." Sloane shook her head. "I just have this feeling. Like something's going to ruin this. Like I can't have one perfect day without the past showing up to destroy it. The past is gone. You're free. You're happy. You're about to have 3 beautiful babies with a man who adores you." Vivian's voice was fierce, protective. "Nothing is going to ruin this." Meanwhile, 4 floors above, Grant Hartley slammed his car door in the hospital parking garage. The sound echoed, sharp, angry. He was furious. The Riverside deal had fallen through. 6 months of negotiations. Gone. Because the client got cold feet at the last minute. His phone rang. He answered without looking. "What?" "Mr. Hartley, it's Amanda from the office. I have the revised contracts for the Pearson property. Email them. I'm at the hospital. My mother's post-op check." He strode toward the elevator, stabbed the button, twice, 3 times, like that would make it come faster. "How is Mrs. Hartley doing?" "Fine, hip replacement, she's recovering." The elevator doors opened. Full. He couldn't deal with a crowd right now. "I'll take the stairs." He pushed through the stairwell door, started climbing, 2 steps at a time, steps at a phone pressed to his ear. Amanda was still talking about contracts, clauses, terms. He half listened. His mind was on the Riverside deal, on salvaging it, on the call he needed to make to convince the client to reconsider. 4th floor, he pushed through the door, kept walking, kept talking, didn't pay attention to where he was. Wrong floor. He stopped, looked around. This wasn't the orthopedic ward. This was something else. Softer colors, baby pictures on the walls, a sign that read labor and delivery. "Amanda, I'll call you back." He ended the call, turned to leave. That's when he saw her, through a window, small, square, in a door marked 7. Sloane. His Sloane, no, not his Sloane, not anymore. Not for 2 years. But that was her. Dark hair, the way she tilted her head when she was in pain, the curve of her cheek. He'd know her anywhere, in any crowd, in any moment. And she was pregnant, very pregnant. His phone slipped from his hand, clattered to the floor. The sound was distant, underwater. His whole world had narrowed to that window, that room, that woman. She was in a hospital gown, sweating, screaming through what had to be a contraction. And there was someone else in the frame, a tall man, dark suit, expensive, he saw. The man leaned down, kissed Sloane's forehead, tender, intimate, the way Grant used to kiss her, the way he should have kissed her more often. This wasn't possible. This wasn't real. Sloane was his ex-wife. They'd been divorced for 2 years. He'd moved on. She'd moved on. That was the deal. That was the understanding. But this was something else entirely. A nurse approached him. "Sir, are you okay? You look pale." He couldn't answer. Couldn't move. His feet were cement. His lungs were stone. "Sir?" The nurse touched his arm, gentle, concerned. Inside the room, Sloane turned her head, looked toward the door, looked directly at the window. Their eyes met. For 1 second, 2, 3. He watched her face change, watched shock become recognition, become horror. "No," her voice was muted by the glass, but he could read her lips, could see the panic in her eyes. "No, no, no." Vivian followed her gaze, saw Grant through the window. Her expression hardened immediately. She stood, moved toward the door, protective, fierce. "Get him out." Sloane's voice rose. Even through the door, he could hear her now. "Get him out of here, now." Dr. Morrison was checking the monitors. She looked up, saw Sloane's blood pressure spiking on the screen. "What's happening?" "Sloane, your blood pressure just jumped. What's wrong?" "Him. He's here. I can't. Not now. Not today." Sloane was breathing too fast. Panic attack mixing with labor. "Anyone but him, please. Not today." The door opened. A man emerged. The man from inside. He was taller than Grant. Broader, mid-30s maybe. Expensive suit. Confident posture. The kind of man who was used to being in charge, used to protecting what was his. "Can I help you?" His voice was neutral, but his body language was clear. "Stay away from my wife." Grant found his voice. "Finally. Sloan, we were. I'm her ex-husband." The man's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes sharpened. "I know who you are. You're with her." Grant's brain wasn't working right. Words came out wrong, disconnected. "I'm her husband." The man emphasized the word. Present tense, not past. Brennan Sinclair. The name hit Grant like a physical blow. He knew that name. Everyone knew that name. Brennan Sinclair, CEO of Tech Vanguard, Forbes 30 under 40, net worth in the hundreds of millions. Grant had read an article about him just last month, about his company's latest acquisition, about his philanthropic work, about his marriage 6 months ago to a woman named Sloan Mitchell. Grant had scrolled past it, hadn't clicked, hadn't let himself think about it. Because Sloan was common enough, Mitchell was her maiden name. It couldn't be his Sloan, but it had been. And he'd ignored it, blocked it out, convinced himself it didn't matter. "I need you to leave." Brennan's voice was still calm, still controlled, but there was steel underneath. "Your presence is distressing my wife during labor with triplets, so I'm going to ask you once. Please leave." Triplets. The word echoed in Grant's head. She was having triplets. 3 babies, 3 lives, with this man, with Brennan Sinclair. Security had arrived, 2 guards, 1 young, 1 older with gray hair and tired eyes. "Sir, you need to come with us." The older guard gestured toward the waiting area. "Family only in this wing." Grant let himself be led away. Didn't resist, couldn't. His body was on autopilot. His mind was somewhere else entirely. Somewhere 2 years ago, in a divorce attorney's office, signing papers, telling himself this was for the best. They wanted different things. They'd married too young. He needed to focus on his career. She needed someone who could give her more time, more attention, more everything he couldn't provide. He'd told himself he was setting her free, doing the right thing, being mature about their incompatibility. He'd told himself a lot of things. None of them were true. The guards deposited him in the waiting area. Chairs, magazines, a television mounted on the wall playing some cooking show on mute. He sat, stared at nothing, saw everything. Sloan. Pregnant, married, happy. Sloan. With someone else, someone better. Someone who'd clearly given her everything Grant couldn't, wouldn't, didn't. His phone was still on the floor in the hallway. He should get it, should call someone, should do something, anything. But he just sat there, frozen, paralyzed by the weight of his own stupidity. What had he done? What had he thrown away? And why did it hurt so much when he was the one who'd ended it? He'd wanted out. He'd been relieved when she'd asked for the divorce. He'd signed the papers without hesitation. He'd walked away without looking back. So why did this feel like someone had reached into his chest and ripped out everything vital? Inside room 7, Sloan was still spiraling. Her blood pressure wouldn't come down. The contractions were closer together, harder, more intense, and she couldn't stop shaking. "I need you to breathe," Dr. Morrison said, firm but kind. "In through your nose, out through your mouth, slow, steady." "I can't. He's here, he's out there in my hospital, on my floor, on the day I'm having my babies." Tears streamed down Sloan's face. Not from pain, from rage, from fear, from everything she'd thought she'd processed and buried. Why today? Vivian was holding her hand, squeezing so tight it almost hurt. "He doesn't matter. He doesn't get to matter. Look at me. Look at me." Sloan met her friend's eyes, brown, determined, fierce with love. "You are about to have 3 babies. 3 perfect babies. With a man who flew across the Pacific Ocean the second you went into labor. Who left a multi-million-dollar deal mid-sentence because you needed him. Who loves you so much it makes the rest of us nauseous." Vivian's voice cracked slightly. "Grant Hartley is a footnote, a mistake you corrected. He doesn't get to take up space in your head during the most important moment of your life." "She's right," Dr. Morrison added, "and your blood pressure needs to stabilize. For you, for the babies, Can you do that for me? Can you let him go? Just for now?" Sloane nodded, closed her eyes, counted 1, 2, 3, breathe. She would do this. She would have her babies. She would survive this day, and Grant Hartley would remain what he'd been for 2 years. Her past, not her present, never her future. The monitors beeped steadily now. Sloane's blood pressure had stabilized. Barely, but enough, doctor. Morrison nodded with satisfaction. "That's better. You're doing great. Stay focused on your breathing." Sloane tried, she really tried, but her mind kept drifting back to that window, to Grant's face, the shock in his eyes, the way he'd looked at her like she was a ghost, like she'd risen from the dead specifically to haunt him. Good. Let him be haunted. Let him feel 1/10 of what she'd felt during their marriage, during the divorce, during the months after when she'd had to rebuild herself from broken pieces. Another contraction hit. Stronger this time. Longer. She gripped Vivian's hand, rode the wave of pain until it passed. "How far apart?" Vivian asked Dr. Morrison. "About 3 minutes. Consistent. We're getting close." The doctor checked the monitors again. Baby A's heart rate is good. B and C are looking strong. Everyone's handling labor well. Sloane closed her eyes. Baby A, baby B. B, baby C. In a few hours, they'd be Connor and Ethan and Nora. Her children. Her family. The life she'd built from the ashes of her first marriage. In the waiting area, Grant's mother appeared. Judith Hartley was in a wheelchair. Post-surgery. Hip replacement 2 days ago. She should still be in her room resting. But she'd insisted on coming down for her checkup appointment. Her son was supposed to meet her here 20 minutes ago. Sterling Hartley pushed the wheelchair. Grant's older brother, 36, successful in his own right, but quieter than Grant, more thoughtful, more present. "Where is your brother?" Judith asked, impatient, worried. "He said he'd be here." "I'll find him." Sterling pulled out his phone, started to dial. Then he saw Grant, sitting alone in the corner. Face blank, eyes distant. Sterling knew that look. That was the look of a man who had just had his world shattered. "Grant?" Sterling approached carefully, the way you'd approach someone standing on a ledge. "You okay?" Grant looked up, slow, like moving through water. "She's here." "Who's here?" "Sloane, my Sloane, no. Not my Sloane, not anymore." The words came out flat, emotionless. Shock had set in. "She's here. She's having a baby." Sterling went very still. "What?" "Babies, triplets. She's married to someone else, to Brennan Sinclair." Grant laughed, sharp, bitter. "Do you know who that is? He's worth $400 million. $400 million. And I thought I was doing well with my $8 million. Judith heard this, wheeled herself closer. "Sloane is here? In this hospital?" "4th floor, labor and delivery, room 7. Grant's voice was hollow. "I saw her through the window. She saw me. She told them to get me out. She doesn't want me there. Doesn't want me anywhere near her." Sterling and Judith exchanged a look. Long, loaded. There was something in that look. Something that made Grant's stomach drop even further. "You knew." He stood, faced his brother. "You knew she was pregnant. You knew she got married. And you didn't tell me." Sterling didn't deny it. "She asked me not to." "She asked you. She asked you." Grant's voice rose. Other people in the waiting room looked over. He didn't care. "You've been talking to my ex-wife?" "She's not your ex-wife anymore. She's my friend. She was my friend during your marriage when you were never home, and she was lonely, and I was the only one who bothered to check on her." Sterling's voice was quiet, firm. "Yeah, I stayed in touch. She needed someone. You'd made it clear it wasn't going to be you." The truth of it cut deep, deeper than Grant expected, because Sterling was right. He'd left Sloane alone. For months, years, he'd come home late, left early, canceled plans, forgotten anniversaries, missed birthdays, all for work, all for deals, all for a success that suddenly felt hollow and meaningless. Judith spoke up, soft, sad. "I liked her. I know I didn't show it well. I was worried she'd married you for money. I was wrong. She loved you." Really loved you. The kind of love that comes once in a lifetime if you're lucky. Mom, you destroyed it piece by piece, day by day. You destroyed something precious because you were too afraid to be vulnerable, too focused on proving yourself to actually live your life. Judith's voice was matter of fact. No anger, just truth. You're just like your father, all ambition, no capacity for intimacy. The comparison stung. Grant's father had been absent, cold, successful but alone. He died of a heart attack at 60, in his office, surrounded by contracts and deals and money. No one had found him for 3 hours. I didn't know she was pregnant, Sterling said. Gentler now. She told me she'd gotten married. Told me she was happy. Asked me not to mention it to you. Said she needed space. Needed to build her new life without your shadow over it. My shadow, Grant repeated, tasting the words, bitter, accurate. Yeah, your shadow, the way you made her feel small. The way you dismissed her feelings. The way you chose everything else over her. Every single time. Sterling wasn't being cruel, he was being honest. I watched you kill her spirit, day by day, year by year. I'm not going to apologize for being her friend after you walked away. Grant sat back down, heavily, like someone had cut his strings. I made a mistake. You made 1,000 mistakes, and now she's moved on. She's happy. She's having a family with someone who actually chose her, who prioritized her, who gave her what you never could. Sterling crouched down, eye level with his brother. The best thing you can do right now is leave. Go home. Let her have this moment without your presence ruining it. But Grant didn't move. Couldn't. Because somewhere on this floor was Sloan, and 3 babies, and a life he'd thrown away. And he needed, what? To see her? To apologize? To explain? No, he needed to understand, needed to see what he'd lost, needed to confront the reality of his choices. Inside room 7, Sloan's labor was progressing rapidly. Too rapidly. 8 centimeters, Dr. Morrison announced. We're moving fast. Brennan should be here soon. When did Wesley say his plane would land? 15 minutes ago, Vivian checked her phone. He's in a car from the airport now. Should be here in 10, maybe 15 with traffic. Baby A's heart rate just dropped. A nurse pointed to the monitor. Sharp, urgent. Dr. Morrison moved quickly, checked the reading, adjusted the monitor. Let's get you on your left side. Sometimes that helps. Sloan shifted, awkward, painful. The monitor stabilized. Baby A's heart rate came back up. That's better. Stay just like that. Dr. Morrison's voice was calm, but Sloan heard the edge of concern underneath. Are they okay? Sloan asked. Fear crept in. Tell me they're okay. They're fine. Sometimes babies don't love labor. They get a little stressed. It's normal. We're watching closely. If anything changes, we'll take action immediately. But 5 minutes later, Baby A's heart rate dropped again. Lower this time. Longer. Dr. Morrison made a decision. We need to prep for a C-section. Now, get the surgical team, call anesthesia, move. Everything shifted into high gear. Nurses flooded the room. Equipment appeared. Sloan was being moved. Prepped. Explained to in quick, efficient sentences about what would happen next. Brennan, she said, voice tight with fear. I need Brennan. He's almost here, Vivian promised. Wesley just texted. 5 minutes. I can't wait 5 minutes. They need to come out now. I know, but you're going to be okay. They were going to be okay. Dr. Morrison does this every day. Sloan wanted to believe her, wanted to trust, but fear was a living thing in her chest, clawing, desperate. What if something went wrong? What if she'd been too happy, too content? What if the universe was about to balance the scales? Take away what it had given? No, she wouldn't think like that. Wouldn't let Grant's presence poison this moment more than it already had. Her babies would be fine. She would be fine. Everything would be fine. It had to be. In the hallway, Brennan Sinclair burst through the stairwell door. He'd run up 4 flights rather than wait for the elevator. His suit was wrinkled. His tie was gone. He looked like he'd aged 5 years in the past 2 hours. Wesley Price was right behind him. 27, efficient, loyal, the kind of assistant who anticipated needs before they were voiced. Room 7, Wesley said, already moving, already guiding. They turned the corner, found chaos, medical staff rushing, equipment being wheeled, the controlled urgency of an emergency. A nurse stopped them. Are you family? I'm her husband, Brennan Sinclair. Those are my children. They're prepping her for an emergency C-section. You can scrub in. Follow me. Brennan followed. Didn't hesitate, didn't ask questions, just moved. Wesley stayed behind, handling everything else, handling all the details Brennan couldn't focus on right now. Grant saw all of this from the waiting area, watched Brennan sprint past, watched the urgency, felt his stomach drop to his feet. Something was wrong. Something was wrong with Sloan, with the babies. And it was his fault. His presence had caused her stress, had spiked her blood pressure, had created complications that wouldn't have existed if he'd just stayed away. If she died, if something happened to her, if he lost her forever, not because of divorce, but because of death. He couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Judith reached for his hand, squeezed, the first time she'd held his hand in years. She'll be okay, Judith said, but her voice shook because she'd loved Sloan too, in her own complicated way, and the thought of losing her was unbearable. Sterling stood, paced. I'm going to find out what's happening. They won't tell you anything. You're not family. I'll find someone who will. He left, determined, worried. Grant stayed seated, paralyzed by fear and guilt and the crushing weight of his own terrible choices. This was his fault. All of it. If he'd been a better husband, if he'd loved her better, if he'd chosen her even once, she might still be his. And he'd be in that surgical room holding her hand instead of sitting in a waiting room praying to a God he didn't believe in that she'd survive. Inside the operating room, Sloan was being prepped. The anesthesiologist was explaining the epidural. The surgical team was moving with practiced efficiency. Brennan was beside her, dressed in scrubs, holding her hand. His face was pale but determined. I'm here. I'm right here. Not going anywhere. His voice was steady, strong, everything she needed. I'm scared, she admitted. The drugs were taking effect, numbing her, but not her fear. I know, but you're the strongest person I've ever met. You survived a marriage that tried to break you. You rebuilt yourself from nothing. You can survive this. We can survive this. Dr. Morrison appeared, also in scrubs, also calm. Ready? Sloan nodded. Because she was. Because she had to be. Because 3 lives depended on her being brave enough to face this. Then let's meet your babies, Dr. Morrison said, and smiled, and began. The scalpel cut clean, precise. Dr. Morrison worked with the efficiency of someone who'd done this hundreds of times. Sloan couldn't feel the cutting, just pressure, movement, the strange sensation of her body being opened. Brennan held her hand, kept talking, low, soothing, about the nursery they'd painted, the books they'd bought, the names they'd chosen, anything to keep her grounded, present. First baby coming out, doctor, Morrison announced. Then a sound, the most beautiful sound Sloan had ever heard. A cry, strong, healthy, angry at being evicted from his warm home. It's a boy, baby A, 7 pounds 2 ounces. Tears streamed down Sloan's face. She couldn't stop them. Didn't want to. Brennan was crying too, kissing her forehead, her cheeks, her lips. Our son, we have a son. The baby was held up briefly, red, screaming, perfect, then whisked away to be checked by the pediatric team. Second baby, also a boy, 6 pounds, 11 ounces. Another cry, another wave of relief and joy so intense Sloan thought her heart might burst. And baby number 3, it's a girl, 6 pounds, 8 ounces. The smallest cry, but just as fierce, just as determined. Sloan sobbed, full body sobs, happy tears, grateful tears, overwhelmed tears. They're here. They're really here. You did it. You're amazing. Brennan's voice was thick with emotion. 3 babies. 3 perfect babies. The babies were shown to them, all 3, one at a time, Connor James, Ethan Michael, Nora Grace, their family. Complete. But then the monitors started beeping. Different. Urgent. Blood pressure dropping, someone said. Clinical. Fast. She's hemorrhaging. I need suction. Now. Dr. Morrison's voice changed. From warm to commanding, from celebrating to saving. Brennan's grip on Sloane's hand tightened. Sloane, stay with me. Look at me. She tried, but suddenly she was so tired, so heavy. Her eyelids were lead. Her body was giving up. The babies? Her voice was barely a whisper. They're perfect. All three, you hear me? They're perfect. Now you need to be okay too. You need to stay with us. Trying, she managed, but everything was getting dark, distant, like she was falling down a very long tunnel. She heard voices, urgent, medical, someone calling for blood, for instruments, for help. She heard Brennan, desperate, afraid, begging her to stay, to fight, to hold on. And for just a moment, just a split second, she thought about letting go, about how easy it would be to just drift away, to stop fighting, to rest. But then she thought about three tiny faces, three lives that needed her, three babies who just entered the world and deserved their mother. Not today. She wouldn't give up today, not when she finally had everything she'd ever wanted. She fought, pulled herself back from the edge, forced herself to stay present, to stay alive. In the waiting area, a nurse emerged, looked around for family. Wesley stood immediately. I'm here for Brennan Sinclair, his wife. She's hemorrhaging. The babies are all healthy, 3 boys and a girl, but Mrs. Sinclair is having complications. They're working on it now. Sterling overheard, looked at Grant. His brother's face had gone gray, ashen. Did you hear that? Sterling asked quietly. Grant nodded. Couldn't speak. His throat had closed. His chest was tight. The thought of Sloane dying, actually dying, was too much, too impossible, too devastating. She had to be okay, had to survive, even if she never spoke to him again, even if he never saw her again. She had to exist in the world, had to be alive somewhere, happy, thriving. The world needed Sloane Mitchell in it, needed her light, her kindness, her strength. He needed her in it, even from a distance, even as a memory, even as the woman he'd loved and lost and destroyed through his own stupidity. Please, the word echoed in his head. Please, please, please. Judith was crying quietly. Sterling had his arm around their mother. They waited. Time stretched, distorted. 5 minutes felt like 5 hours. Grant stood, sat, stood again. He couldn't stay still, couldn't think, could barely breathe. He found himself walking through the waiting area, down a hallway, to a door marked chapel. He hadn't been in a church since his wedding to Sloane, 7 years ago, a lifetime ago, when he'd promised to love her, honor her, cherish her, for better or worse, in sickness and health. He'd broken every promise, every vow, every commitment. The chapel was small, simple, wooden pews, plain altar, a cross on the wall, non-denominational, welcoming to all faiths or none. A janitor was cleaning, older man, gray hair, humming softly, not a hymn, just some old tune from decades past. The normalcy of it was grounding. Life continued, people cleaned, people hummed, even when everything else was falling apart. Grant stood in the doorway, didn't sit, didn't kneel, just stood, looking at nothing, seeing everything. His marriage flashed before him. 7 years compressed into moments. Meeting Sloane at a charity auction. She'd been 22, fresh out of college, working for a nonprofit. She'd worn a blue dress, simple, elegant. She'd smiled at him, and the whole room had brightened. Their first date, coffee that turned into dinner that turned into walking through the city at midnight, talking about everything. Dreams, fears, the future they wanted to build. The proposal, on the Brooklyn Bridge at sunrise. She'd said yes before he'd finished asking, had kissed him with tears streaming down her face. Happy tears, the kind he'd make her cry again, but for different reasons. The wedding, small. Her family, his family. A few friends. She'd written her own vows. Had promised to love him through everything, to support his dreams, to build a life together. And she had. For 5 years, she'd supported, sacrificed, adjusted her life to fit around his. She'd taken his absences, his cancellations, his half-hearted apologies. She'd made herself smaller so he could feel bigger. And he'd taken it all, never questioned it, never appreciated it, never realized what he had until it was gone. The turning point, 3 years ago, she'd told him she was unhappy, that she felt like a ghost in her own marriage, that she needed more, needed him, needed a partner. Not a roommate who paid the bills and showed up occasionally. He'd been tired, stressed, fresh off a failed negotiation. He'd snapped, said things he couldn't take back. "What do you want me to do, Sloan?" This is who I am. This is what I do. If you can't handle it, maybe we made a mistake. The words had hung between them for 3 months, neither one taking them back, neither one apologizing, until finally she'd asked for the divorce, and he'd said yes, immediately, too quickly, because part of him had been relieved. Part of him had wanted out, wanted the freedom to work without guilt, without someone waiting at home, without having to pretend to be someone he wasn't. He'd told himself he was doing her a favor, setting her free to find someone better, someone who could give her what she needed. He'd told himself a lot of lies. The divorce had been civil, amicable. She'd asked for almost nothing, just her personal belongings, her car, enough money to start over. He'd been generous, guilt money, conscience money, money to make himself feel less terrible about throwing away something precious. The papers were signed. She'd moved out. He'd gone to work the next day. Life continued, except it didn't, not really, because everywhere he looked, he saw her absence. The coffee she used to make, the books she'd left half-read, the photos on the walls they'd chosen together, the silence where her laugh used to be. He dated, casually. Paige had been around for 18 months, nice, pretty, uncomplicated. She didn't ask for much, didn't expect much. That was perfect. That was what he wanted. Except it wasn't, because Paige wasn't Sloan. No one was Sloan. And now Sloan was somewhere in this hospital, fighting for her life because he'd showed up, because he'd caused her stress, because he'd ruined what should have been the happiest day of her life. Please, the word was a prayer, a plea, a desperate wish thrown into the universe. Please let her be okay. Please let her survive. Please let those babies have their mother, please. He didn't deserve to ask, didn't deserve to pray, didn't deserve anything. But he asked anyway, because sometimes that's all you can do. Sometimes begging the universe is the only option left. Back in the OR, the bleeding was under control. Dr. Morrison's voice shifted from urgent to relieved. "Got it. We're good. She's stable." Brennan hadn't let go of Sloane's hand. His face was wet with tears he didn't bother hiding. "You hear that? You're okay. You're going to be okay." Sloane's vision cleared. The darkness receded. She was still here, still alive, still fighting. "My babies. I want to see my babies. Soon, we're closing you up. They're in the nursery, doing great, being checked and weighed and measured. You'll see them in recovery." Dr. Morrison's smile was visible even behind her mask. "You did beautifully, all 4 of you." Sloane started crying again. Relief, joy, exhaustion, everything at once. "Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank your body, you're strong, you fought, and you won." They wheeled her to recovery. Brennan walked beside the gurney, never let go of her hand, never stopped talking to her, anchoring her, and reminding her she was loved. She was safe. She was home. Wesley was waiting outside recovery, efficient, prepared. "The private suite is ready. Your parents are on their way. I've called the attorney about updating the estate documents. Everyone from the office sends their congratulations." "Thank you, Wesley. I don't know what we'd do without you." "Probably chaos." Wesley smiled, rare, genuine. "But worth it. Congratulations." "Boss, you're a father." Brennan laughed, shaky, overwhelmed. I'm a father, 3 times over. That's terrifying. You'll be great. You're prepared, organized, rich enough to hire help. Money doesn't make you a good parent. No, but love does. And you've got that covered. They brought the babies to recovery. One by one. Then together. All 3. Sloan held them, her arms full of tiny humans. Her heart so full it hurt. Connor, calm, observant, already studying the world with serious eyes. Ethan, vocal, letting everyone know exactly what he needed, loud, insistent. Nora, watchful, quiet, taking everything in, the smallest, the most determined. We made them, Sloan whispered, awed, terrified, grateful. They're real. They're ours. Best thing I've ever done. Brennan's voice cracked. You're the best thing I've ever done. Vivian entered, took one look at the babies, burst into tears. They're perfect. You're perfect. This is perfect. And for a moment, just a moment, everything was perfect. Until Sloan remembered. Grant was somewhere in this building. Her past had invaded her present. Her pain had showed up uninvited to her joy, but she pushed the thought away, refused to let him take up space. Not now, not today. Today was about her babies, her husband, her life. Grant Hartley was a ghost, a memory, a lesson learned. He didn't get to haunt her anymore. She wouldn't let him. The recovery room smelled like antiseptic and hope. Sloan couldn't stop staring at her babies. 3 tiny faces, 3 complete humans. She'd made them, carried them, brought them into the world. Connor yawned, a huge yawn for such a small person. His little fists uncurled, curled again, peaceful. Ethan fussed, not quite crying, just letting everyone know he existed. He demanded attention, always would. She could already tell. Nora watched, those serious eyes missing nothing, taking in her mother, her father, her brothers, filing it all away. I could stare at them forever, Brennan said. He'd taken approximately 400 photos already, maybe more. His phone was full of the same 3 faces from slightly different angles. That's the plan, Sloan said. She was exhausted. Her body felt like it had been taken apart and put back together wrong. But she'd never been happier. That's literally the plan for the next 18 years. Vivian laughed. She was holding Ethan, rocking him gently. 18? Try 30. Try forever. You're parents now. There's no retirement from this job. A nurse came in, young, cheerful. How are we doing? Any pain? Nausea? Pain. Definitely pain, but manageable. I'll get you something. Your blood pressure looks good. Heart rate is normal. All 3 babies are perfect. You did great, Mama. The words landed soft, warm, Mama. She was a mama now, a mother, responsible for 3 lives. The weight of it hit her, not crushing, just real, heavy in a way that mattered. After the nurse left, Sloan's expression changed, darkened. Brennan noticed immediately. What's wrong? He's still here, isn't he? Grant, he's still somewhere in this hospital. Probably, but he's not your problem, not your concern. Let him deal with whatever he needs to deal with. I just don't understand why he had to be here today, of all days. Frustration crept into her voice. Couldn't the universe give me one perfect day? One day without my past showing up to ruin things? He didn't ruin anything. You had your babies. They're healthy. You're healthy. Everything went exactly as it should. Except for the hemorrhaging, except for the emergency C-section, except for almost dying, which had nothing to do with him. Complications happen. Dr. Morrison said it's common with multiples. Brennan's voice was firm, certain. You can't blame him for that. But part of Sloan did blame him, because seeing him had spiked her blood pressure, had caused stress, had created a cascade of problems that might not have happened if he'd just stayed away. I need you to not let him see me. If he tries, if he asks, I don't want to see him. I don't want to talk to him. I don't want him anywhere near our babies. Done. I'll make it clear. He's not welcome. Wesley knocked, entered. Sorry to interrupt. There's someone here asking about you. Grant Hartley. He's in the waiting area. Wants to know if you're okay. Sloane's jaw tightened. Tell him I'm fine. Tell him to leave. Already did. He's persistent. Then tell him again, louder, with security if necessary. Wesley nodded, left, handled it, the way he handled everything, efficiently, completely. In the waiting area, Sterling had returned with information. She's okay, babies are okay, everyone's healthy. Grant exhaled, a breath he'd been holding for hours. Thank God. You need to leave, Grant. You need to go home. Let her have this moment without you lurking in the waiting room like a creepy ex-husband. I just wanted to make sure she was okay. She is. Now go. Mom's ready to head back to her room. I'll take her. You go home. But Grant didn't move. Couldn't. Because something had shifted inside him. Seeing Sloane. Seeing what he'd lost. Seeing what his life could have been. He'd spent 2 years convincing himself the divorce was the right choice. That they wanted different things. That he needed his freedom. That she'd be happier without him. All lies. Comfortable lies he'd told himself to avoid facing the truth. The truth was simple. Devastating. He'd loved her. Really loved her. And he'd destroyed it. Piece by piece. Choice by choice. Absence by absence. He'd destroyed the best thing in his life because he was too afraid to be vulnerable. Too focused on success to appreciate what success was supposed to give him. Time, freedom, partnership. Instead, he'd worked himself into the ground, built an empire, made millions, and come home to an empty house every night, alone, by choice, by his own stupid choice. I need to see her, he said, voice rough. Just once, just to say, I don't know, something. No, you don't get to do that. You don't get to show up and unload your guilt on her. She's recovering from major surgery. She just had 3 babies. She deserves peace, not your apologies. Sterling was right. Grant knew it. But knowing didn't make it easier. Judith spoke from her wheelchair. Quiet, sad. Let him go, Sterling. Let him see her. Let him face what he lost. Maybe then he'll finally understand. Mom, I'm serious. He needs to see it. See her. See the life she built without him. See what choosing yourself over someone you love actually costs. Judith looked at her youngest son, disappointment clear in her eyes. Let him have his closure, even if it destroys him. Sterling considered this, then nodded. Fine, but I'm coming with you to make sure you don't make it worse. They approached Wesley. Sterling explained. Wesley looked skeptical but agreed to ask. He returned to the recovery room. Grant Hartley is requesting to see you just for a moment. His brother and mother are vouching for him, saying he needs closure. Sloane's first instinct was to say no, absolutely not, never, but then she thought about it, really thought about it. Maybe she needed closure too. Maybe she needed to face him, tell him exactly what she thought, make him understand what he'd done, what he'd destroyed, what he'd lost. Not here, not with my babies, in the hallway, 5 minutes, and you stay with me. She looked at Brennan, strong, steady, her partner. I need you there. Always, I'm always there. Vivian took all 3 babies. I've got them. You go handle your past, then come back to your future. Sloane stood slowly. Pain shot through her abdomen. The incision, the surgery. She was on pain medication, but it wasn't enough. Nothing was enough. But she pushed through, gritted her teeth, made herself move. Brennan supported her elbow. Careful, protective. Wesley walked ahead, clearing the path, making sure Grant stayed where he was supposed to. They reached the hallway. Neutral ground, fluorescent lights, linoleum floors, the smell of hospital everywhere. Grant stood there. With Sterling and Judith, he looked terrible, exhausted, destroyed. Good. Their eyes met for the first time in 2 years. Really met, really saw each other. Sloane spoke first. Why are you here, Grant? My mother, hip surgery. I was visiting and I saw you through the window. And you stayed. Yes, I stayed. Silence, long, uncomfortable. Years of unsaid things pressing down on them. Congratulations, Grant managed. On the babies. Triplets. That's incredible. Thank you. Her voice was polite, distant, the voice she'd use with a stranger at a coffee shop. You look happy in your photos, online. You look really happy. I am. No elaboration, no invitation to continue. Grant's composure started cracking. Can we talk? Really talk? About what happened? About us? We're talking. I mean about the divorce, about the mistakes I made. I've been thinking, no, firm, final. We're not doing this. Not today. Not any day. I made a mistake. The divorce, letting you go. It was a mistake. And something in Sloane snapped. The anger she thought she'd processed. The hurt she thought she'd healed. All of it came flooding back. Her voice rose. You made a mistake? That's what you're going with? A mistake? Wesley moved closer, protective. Brennan's hand tightened on her arm, steadying. You didn't make a mistake, Grant. You made hundreds of choices, thousands of choices. Every time you chose work over us, every time you dismissed my feelings, every time you came home late and left early and canceled plans and forgot anniversaries and looked through me instead of at me. Her voice shook with rage, with pain, with truth. Those weren't mistakes. Those were choices you chose, over and over. You chose everything else over me. Grant, I know, you're right. I was wrong about everything. I've spent 2 years realizing how wrong I was. And I've spent 2 years healing from the damage you did. Her voice shifted, softer, sadder, more true. Building a new life, finding someone who actually sees me, who values me, who chose me every single day, not when it was convenient, not when he had time, every single day. She paused, breathed, steadied herself. I'm not angry anymore, Grant. I'm grateful. Because you leaving was the best thing that ever happened. You set me free to become who I was meant to be, to find someone who could love me the way I deserved to be loved. The words landed like physical blows. Grant flinched. Judith looked away. Even Sterling seemed uncomfortable. But Sloane wasn't done. She had 2 years of words stored up, 2 years of pain processed into clarity. I'm married to a man I love, a man who was there for me when I was broken, who helped me rebuild, who proposed because he couldn't imagine his life without me. Not because it was the logical next step. Not because we'd been together long enough. Her voice was steady now, clear. I have 3 newborn babies in that room. My family, the family I always wanted, the family you didn't want with me. That's not true. You wanted the idea of a family, someday, in the abstract, when it was convenient, when it wouldn't interfere with your work, when you had time. She shook her head. I wanted a partner. I wanted someone present. I wanted to build a life together. We wanted different things, and that's okay. It really is. She took a breath, the final words. But what's not okay is you showing up today on the happiest day of my life and trying to make it about you, about your regrets, your realizations, your feelings. Her eyes were wet, but her voice was strong. I loved you, Grant. I loved you so much it hurt. I gave you everything I had, and it still wasn't enough to make you choose me. So I had to choose myself instead. Grant was crying now, not loud, just tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I know you are, and I forgive you, I really do. She meant it. The forgiveness was real, necessary, healing. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. It means I'm letting go of the hurt. I'm letting go of you, and I'm asking you to let go of me too. Judith spoke up, soft, sad. Sloane, I owe you an apology too. I wasn't kind to you during your marriage. I didn't see your worth. I'm sorry. Some of the hardness in Sloane's expression softened. Thank you for saying that. It means something. It does. Sterling added, congratulations, Sloane. You deserve all of this, all the happiness, all the love, everything. Thank you, Sterling, for being a friend when I needed one. Sloane turned to go. Each step was agony, but she made herself move, made herself walk away. From Grant, from the Piton, from everything that had tried to break her. Brennan supported her. Wesley cleared the path. They returned to the recovery room, to Vivian holding 3 babies. to the future, to everything that mattered. Behind her, Grant stood in that hallway, frozen, destroyed. His mother on one side, his brother on the other. He'd lost more than Sloan. He'd lost the version of himself that could have been better, could have been worthy, could have chosen love over ambition. "Come on," Sterling said gently. "Let's go home." Grant let himself be led away, out of the maternity ward, out of the hospital, out of Sloan's life. This time, really out. Finally out. Forever out. Day one, post-birth, post-confrontation, post-everything. The private suite was comfortable, but chaos, organized case. The beautiful kind. 3 babies, 3 feeding schedules, 3 diaper changes, 3 of everything. Sloan and Brennan were learning to tag team. He'd change Connor while she fed Ethan, while Vivian burped Nora. Then they'd rotate, switch, adjust, learn. "How are people with triplets not in the Olympics?" Vivian asked. She was covered in spit up, hair everywhere, exhausted. "This should be an Olympic sport, because Olympic athletes get to sleep," Brennan said. He hadn't slept in 36 hours, looked like he'd aged 5 years, but he was smiling, genuinely smiling. "This is harder than any marathon." Sloan laughed, exhausted, painful, happy. "But look at their faces. That's why. That's the only reason." And it was true. 3 tiny perfect faces. Connor's serious expression. Ethan's demands. Nora's watchful eyes. Worth every second of pain. Every moment of exhaustion. Every sacrifice. Elizabeth and Richard Sinclair arrived. Brennan's parents, warm, kind, genuinely excited to be grandparents. Elizabeth immediately started organizing. Brought prepared meals, extra supplies, practical help. "You need sleep," Elizabeth told Sloan, firm but gentle. "Let me take the first night shift. You rest." "I can't. I need to feed them." "You can pump. I'll handle the bottles. You need to heal, please." Sloan wanted to argue, wanted to prove she could do it all. But her body was screaming, begging for rest. Okay, thank you." Richard held Connor, completely smitten. "He looks like you, Brennan, that serious expression, always thinking." "God help him," Brennan said. But he was proud, terrified, overwhelmed, but proud. That evening, Wesley arrived, professional, efficient, bringing flowers, cards from the office, and an envelope. "This was delivered to your house. The law firm name concerned me." He handed it to Brennan. "Thought you should see it immediately." Brennan opened it, read. His expression darkened, hardened. Sloan noticed. "What is it?" "Letter from a law firm, Grant's attorney, expressing his desire to make amends, requesting a meeting to discuss past financial oversights during the divorce." Sloan's blood went cold. "What?" She read it once, twice, hands shaking, rage building. "He's not letting go. He's trying to find a way back in." She looked at Brennan, fear mixing with anger. "I need you to know something. There's no part of me that wants him back, not even a fraction. But I'm angry. I'm so angry that he's still trying to control things." "He's claiming there were financial errors in the settlement?" Brennan's jaw was tight, controlled fury. "There weren't. You had a good attorney. You took what was fair." I know that. So why is he doing this?" "Because seeing you happy made him realize what he lost, and men like Grant don't handle loss well." Brennan pulled out his phone. "I'm calling our attorney. This ends now, today, forever." He stepped into the hallway, made the call. His voice was low but firm, setting boundaries, drawing lines, protecting his family. Sloan watched him through the doorway. This was what partnership looked like. Someone who stood beside you, who fought for you, who protected what you'd built together. Grant had never done that, had never been that, had never even tried. She'd been married to the wrong man. For 5 years, wasted 5 years on someone who couldn't give her what she needed, what she deserved. But those years weren't wasted. They taught her what to look for, what to run from, what actually mattered. And they'd let her here. To Brennan, to 3 babies, to this life. So maybe they weren't wasted after all. Maybe they were necessary. the painful path to something beautiful. Vivian sat beside here. You okay? I will be. Once he's really gone. Once he understands I'm not his anymore. Never was his, not really. He'll understand, eventually. Some men take longer to learn. That night, Sloan fed Nora at 2 in the morning. The house was quiet, just her and her daughter, the darkness soft and peaceful. She looked at that tiny face, those serious eyes, and had a moment of complete clarity. I used to think I needed to be perfect to be worthy of love, she whispered. Nora looked up at her, listening, understanding in that way babies do. I needed to be the perfect wife, say the right things, need the right amount. Not too much, never too much, but looking at you, at your brothers. I realize you don't love me because I'm perfect. You love me because I'm here, because I'm yours. That's it. That's the whole formula. She kissed Nora's forehead, soft, gentle. I wish I'd learned that sooner. Would have saved myself so much pain. But maybe she'd needed the pain, needed to break, needed to rebuild herself from broken pieces, so she could be the mother these babies deserved. Strong, whole, healed. The next morning, their attorney called. Patricia Williams, sharp, professional, protective. I've reviewed the letter. It's harassment. Plain and simple, the divorce was settled fairly. This is a transparent attempt to force contact. What can we do? Brennan asked. Cease and desist. Make it clear any further contact will be considered legal harassment. We can pursue a restraining order if necessary. Do it. All of it. Sloan's voice was firm. I want him to understand we're done. Completely. Finally. Forever. Consider it done. But that afternoon, something unexpected happened. Sterling arrived, respectful, careful, asked permission before entering. I'm not here representing Grant, he said immediately. Hands up, non-threatening. I'm here as a friend to apologize for his behavior and to give you something. He handed Sloan an envelope. Inside was a check, substantial, made out to her. What is this? Your half of the appreciation on the property you own together. From the sale 2 years ago. There was an accounting error. You were owed this. The attorney was right about that part. Though he went about it completely wrong. Sloan stared at the check. Life-changing money. Why are you giving me this? Because it's yours. Not a gift, not a peace offering. What you're legally owed. Sterling's voice was gentle, kind. I've been managing Grant's accounts, found the discrepancy 3 months ago. Told him it needed to be corrected. He fought me. But the letter from his attorney wasn't authorized. His lawyer went rogue. Tried to use it as leverage for contact. Grant fired him yesterday. So Grant wasn't trying to manipulate me. He wants to see you desperately, but he's trying to respect your boundaries. Badly, clumsily, but trying. Sterling smiled sadly. The letter wasn't from him, but this check is, with his apology. Sloan looked at the check, at Sterling, at this final piece of her past being settled, made right. Thank you for bringing this, for being honest. You deserve honesty. You deserved it during your marriage too. I'm sorry I didn't speak up more then. After Sterling left, Sloan sat with the check, thinking, processing. This was it, the final thread connecting her to Grant. Money, property, legal obligations. All settled, all done. She could deposit this check, close that account, never think about Grant Hartley again. Freedom, real, complete, final. How do you feel? Brennan asked. Light, like something heavy just lifted. She looked at her husband, her partner, her home. I feel free. Day 3, discharge day. The process was elaborate. 3 car seats installed and triple-checked. Pediatrician appointments scheduled. Emergency contacts reviewed. Medications explained and instructions repeated. Vivian helped coordinate, organized, efficient. You ready for this? Real life? No nurses? Just you 2 and 3 tiny humans who need everything? Absolutely not, Sloan admitted. But we're doing it anyway. Brennan was loading the car. Carefully, precisely, each bag in its designated spot, each supply accounted for. Organization was his love language. Planning was his comfort. The drive home was slow. Precious cargo. Brennan drove like they were transporting explosives, 10 miles under the speed limit. Both hands on the wheel, eyes constantly checking the rearview mirror. Sloan kept turning around, checking the babies. All three were sleeping. Peaceful, perfect, not a care in the world. Their home appeared. Modern farmhouse, Westchester, quiet neighborhood, good schools, safe, everything they'd wanted. They'd bought it 6 months before the wedding. Spent 3 months perfecting the nursery. 3 cribs, 3 changing stations, 3 rocking chairs, 3 of everything. Brennan's parents were there, having prepared everything. The fridge was stocked. The house was spotless. Soft music played. Mozart, classical, supposedly good for babies. "Welcome home," Elizabeth said, emotional, happy. "Welcome home, little ones." Richard helped carry in bags, supplies, equipment. "Need anything else? Anything at all?" "Sleep," Brennan said, half joking. "About 12 hours of uninterrupted sleep." "Not for 18 years, Richard laughed. "But worth it. Every sleepless night, every exhausted day. Worth it." That first night home was chaos. Beautiful case. The babies woke on rotation. Someone always needed something. Sloan and Brennan were running on pure adrenaline and love. At 4 in the morning, they sat on the nursery floor, each holding a baby, one crying in the crib. They looked at each other, exhausted, overwhelmed, and laughed. "This is insane," Brennan said. "This is perfect." Both things are true. Between feedings and changings and endless laundry, Sloan had moments of profound realization. Moments of clarity that only come at 3 in the morning when you're too tired to lie to yourself. She was changing Ethan's diaper. He was screaming, angry, demanding, completely unreasonable, and she loved him so much it hurt. "You don't have to earn this," she told him. Soft, true. "You don't have to be perfect. Don't have to do anything except exist. And I'll love you. That's it. That's the deal. You exist and I love you." She thought about Grant, about their marriage, about how she'd spent 5 years trying to earn his love, his attention, his presence, trying to be good enough, perfect enough, worthy enough. What a waste. What a terrible, exhausting waste. Love shouldn't be earned, shouldn't be a reward for good behavior, should just be freely given, fully present. She'd learned that, finally, too late for her marriage, but just in time for her children. The next day, Patricia called with news. Grant Hartley's new attorney reached out, professional, apologetic, says the previous communication was unauthorized. Grant apologizes for any distress, accepts the divorce terms as final, won't pursue further contact. And if he does, then we pursue legal action. But I think he finally understands. You've moved on. He needs to as well. Sloan felt something release. Not joy, not vindication, just release. The final thread cut. The last connection severed. She was sitting in the nursery, all 3 babies asleep. The house quiet except for the white noise machine and 3 tiny breathing sounds. Her phone buzzed, unknown number. But she recognized the area code. Grant. She should delete it, block him, ignore it completely. But curiosity won. The message read, "I know I don't have the right to contact you, and I won't again after this. I just needed to say something. You were right about all of it. I made hundreds of choices that led to losing you. And seeing you happy, seeing what real love looks like through that hospital window, I finally understood what I gave up. Not for you, you don't need my understanding. But for me, so I can stop making the same mistakes. You deserve everything you have. The family, the love, all of it. I hope your babies grow up seeing their mother the way I should have seen you, as someone extraordinary. Take care, Sloan." She read it twice, felt. Nothing dramatic, no anger, no satisfaction. Just quiet acknowledgement that he was finally growing up. Too late for them, but maybe not too late for him. She didn't respond, deleted the message, blocked the number. Let Grant Hartley become what he should have always been, a memory, a lesson, a closed chapter. She opened her photos instead. Recent pictures, Brennan holding all 3 babies, Vivian making funny faces, the nursery, the chaos, the love, this. This was her life now, her real life, the one she'd built from the ashes of her first marriage, and it was beautiful. Brennan appeared in the doorway. You okay? Perfect. We're all perfect. She stood, went to him, kissed him, long, grateful. Thank you. For what? For being you, for loving me the way you love me, for giving me this. She gestured to the sleeping babies, to the home they'd built, to the life they were creating, for all of it. I'm the lucky one. We both are. They stood there, in the doorway, holding each other, a family built from second chances, from healing, from choosing each other every single day. Outside, life continued. Traffic, neighbors, the world spinning. But in this room, in this moment, in this house, they had everything they needed: love, family, home. The rest was just noise. October in Central Park was perfect. Crisp air, changing leaves. That golden autumn light that made everything look like a painting. Sloan pushed the triple stroller, not easy. The thing was massive, required actual arm strength. But she was learning, getting stronger, physically and in every other way. Vivian walked beside her. How are you not exhausted? I'm exhausted, but it's good exhausted. The kind that means you're living. Poetic, wrong, but poetic. The babies were awake, taking in the world. Connor with his usual seriousness. Ethan with his vocal commentary on every sight and sound. Nora with her watchful study of everything. They were 3 months old now. Real personalities emerging. Real people. Not just tiny screaming potatoes, but actual humans with preferences and opinions and demands. They stopped at their favorite bench. View of the lake. Ducks. Joggers. People living their lives. Sloan laid out a blanket, organized bottles, supplies. The endless logistics of triplets. A woman approached, mid-30s, professional clothes, nervous energy. I'm so sorry to bother you, but I couldn't help noticing. Triplets? Sloan smiled. She got this constantly. Yes, 3 months old. They're beautiful. I'm pregnant with twins, just found out last week. I'm terrified, wondering if I'm crazy for even attempting this. You're not crazy, you're brave. Sloan's voice was warm, genuine, and you'll be amazed at what you're capable of. The woman's eyes filled with tears, relief, gratitude. How do you manage? How do you do it all? Badly, beautifully, one moment at a time. Sloan laughed. And with help, lots of help. A supportive partner, good friends, a willingness to accept that some days you just survive. And that's okay. They talked for 20 minutes. Sloan offered practical advice, feeding schedules, sleep strategies, the importance of accepting help, her phone number. Text me anytime, seriously. 3 a.m. when you're overwhelmed. I'll be awake anyway. The woman left, tearful, grateful, hopeful. Vivian watched this interaction. You're good at this. At what? Being generous with your wisdom, helping other people. Vivian paused. Grant broke something in you, but you didn't let it stay broken. You healed, and now you're helping other people heal. Sloan looked at her babies, her life. Pain can do two things: make you smaller, more guarded, more afraid, or make you bigger, more empathetic, more brave. She paused. I chose bigger. It wasn't easy, though. No, it took time, therapy, crying, rebuilding, choosing myself every day. Sloan smiled, but I did it. And now I get to be here, with them, living this life. I wouldn't trade it for anything. They were packing up to leave when Sloan saw him. Grant, across the pathway, not approaching, just there. He was with Paige, his girlfriend. They were laughing at something, casual, light, normal. He saw Sloan at the same moment. Their eyes met. She expected to feel something, anger, pain, triumph. But she felt nothing dramatic, just recognition, like seeing someone you used to know a long time ago. Grant raised his hand. Small wave, not intrusive, just acknowledgement. Sloan nodded back, polite, distant. He didn't approach. Didn't try to talk, just continued walking with Paige. Disappeared into the park crowd. Vivian watched this. You okay? Yeah, I really am. And she meant it. That didn't hurt at all. He's just someone I used to know. That's growth. That's healing. They walked home, through the park, through the neighborhood, through the life Sloane had built, the life she'd chosen, the life she loved. That evening, Sloane and Brennan sat in their living room. The babies were on a playmat, tummy time, hating it, making their feelings very clear. Brennan was making silly faces, getting smiles, tiny baby smiles that lit up the whole world. I saw Grant today, Sloane said casually. In the park. Brennan looked up. Yeah, how was that? Completely fine, almost boring. She smiled. I think I'm finally past it, really past it. Good, because I was getting tired of him taking up space in our lives. Our lives are full enough without him. She gestured around. Toys, bottles, blankets, the beautiful mess of their family. We don't have room for ghosts. Later that night, after the babies were finally asleep, Sloane stood in the nursery doorway, just breathing, just existing, just being grateful. Brennan came up behind her, wrapped his arms around her waist, careful, tender, always mindful of her body, her healing, her needs. What are you thinking? He asked. How grateful I am for all of it, even the hard parts, even the divorce, even the heartbreak. She leaned back against him, safe, loved, home, because it all led here, to you, to them, to this life. You know what I love about you? His voice was soft, intimate. You don't just survive things, you transform them. You take pain and make it wisdom. You take endings and make them beginnings. I learned from watching you. You showed me what real partnership looks like, what real love looks like. Every single day. They stood there, in the doorway, two people who'd found each other after heartbreak, who'd built something real from broken pieces, who chose each other every morning and every night and every moment in between. A family. Not perfect, but real. Authentic. Theirs. And that was better than perfect. That was everything. 6 months had passed since the hospital. 6 months of sleepless nights and endless diapers and more love than Sloane thought one heart could hold. The babies were getting bigger. Connor rolled over last week. Ethan laughed at everything, real belly laughs that made everyone else laugh too. Nora was observing, planning. Already you could see the strategist she'd become. Wesley stopped by that morning, bringing contracts for Brennan, lunch for everyone, always thinking ahead, always prepared. You look exhausted, he said. Not unkind, just honest. I look like a mom of 6-month-old triplets, Sloane corrected. She was wearing yesterday's shirt. Her hair was in a messy bun. She probably had spit up somewhere on her body. She didn't care. You look happy. Both things are true. After Wesley left, Sloane went to check the mail. Bills, advertisements, credit card offers, and an envelope with familiar handwriting. Not Grant's, Judith's. She opened it carefully. Inside was a card. Baby congratulations, sent months late. The message was simple and heartbreaking. Dear Sloane, I'm sorry for how late this is. I've been thinking about what to say and finally realized simple is best. Your babies are beautiful. You are beautiful. The life you've built is beautiful. I'm grateful I got to see you that day in the hospital, to see you become the mother you always wanted to be. I wish I'd been kinder to you during your marriage to my son. I wish I'd seen your strength then, instead of doubting it. You deserve better from all of us. Thank you for being gracious in the face of our failures. With love and regret, Judith. Sloane read it twice. Tears pricked her eyes. Not sad tears, released tears. The last piece of that chapter closing was something close to grace. She sat at the kitchen table, wrote back, her handwriting neat, careful, honest. Dear Judith, thank you for your kind words. I hope you're healing well from your surgery. Please know I hold no anger toward you or your family. We were all doing our best with what we knew at the time. I wish you health and happiness. Warmly, Sloane. She sealed the envelope, dressed it, stamped it, set it by the door, done, complete. Finished. That was the thing about healing. It wasn't dramatic, wasn't a single moment of revelation. It was small actions, small choices, small steps toward letting go. Writing that letter was a step. Forgiving Judith was a step. Acknowledging that everyone had been doing their best was a step. Not because the Hartleys deserved her forgiveness, but because she deserved to be free of the anger, the resentment, the weight. Brennan came home early, surprising her. I canceled my afternoon meetings, thought we could use some time. Just us. The babies. My parents are on their way. They'll watch them for a few hours. We're going out. Together. Like adults. Remember when we were adults? Sloan laughed. Vaguely. I think we used to have conversations that didn't involve diaper consistency. Those were the days. They went to a quiet restaurant. Nothing fancy, just quiet. They could hear each other think. Could talk without shouting over baby cries. How are you really doing? Brennan asked. Once they'd ordered, once they'd settled into the peace. I'm good. Really good. She meant it. Tired, overwhelmed sometimes, but good. No regrets? About what? This, the babies, us, giving up your career for a few years, all of it. No regrets, not even small ones. She reached across the table, took his hand. This is exactly where I'm supposed to be, doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. You say that now, but what about in 5 years, 10 years, when they're all in school and you've been out of the workforce? Then I'll figure it out, start something new, go back to my old career, do something completely different. She smiled. I'm not worried. I've rebuilt myself before. I can do it again if necessary. That was true. She'd taken herself apart and put herself back together once already, after the divorce, after Grant. She'd learned she was capable of more than she'd ever imagined. Starting over wasn't scary anymore. It was just possible, like everything else. I love you, Brennan said. Simple, true. I love watching you be a mother. I love watching you figure this out. I love all of it. All of you. I love you too. More than I thought I could love anyone. More than I knew was possible. They ate slowly, talked, laughed, remembered who they were before the babies, before the chaos, before the beautiful, exhausting, wonderful mess of parenthood. And they realized they were still those people, still partners, still best friends, still completely in love. The babies hadn't erased that, had added to it, deepened it, made it richer and more complex and more real. When they got home, Elizabeth and Richard were rocking babies, soft music playing, everyone peaceful. How were they? Sloan asked. Perfect. Connor ate well, Ethan charmed us all, Nora judged us silently but thoroughly. Richard laughed. They're wonderful. After Brennan's parents left, Sloan checked her phone. Text from Sterling, just checking in, making sure everything was good. He did that every few weeks, stayed in touch, maintained the friendship. She appreciated it, appreciated that not everything from her first marriage was toxic, that some connections survived, evolved, became something new. She texted back, sent pictures of the babies, small updates, normal friend things. That night, feeding Nora at 2 a.m., Sloan thought about her journey. From the broken woman in the divorce attorney's office to this. Mother of 3. Wife to an incredible man, living a life she'd built from her own determination and healing. It hadn't been linear, hadn't been easy. There were setbacks, bad days, moments of doubt, but she'd kept moving forward, kept choosing herself, kept believing she deserved more than crumbs and calling them a feast. And she'd been right. She did deserve more, deserved everything, deserved this. Your mama was sad once, she whispered to Nora. The baby looked up at her, serious eyes, always listening. Really sad, really broken, but she didn't stay broken. She fought, she healed, she became someone new, someone stronger, someone worthy of you. Nora yawned, tiny perfect yawn, closed her eyes, trusted completely, and Sloan felt it again. That overwhelming gratitude, that profound love, that certainty that every painful step had been worth it, leading her exactly where she needed to be. 9 months had passed since that chaotic day in the hospital. 9 months of sleepless nights and endless diapers, and more love than Sloan Mitchell. Sinclair thought one heart could possibly hold without exploding. Standing in front of her walk-in closet now, she felt like a stranger in her own life. In the best possible way. "I genuinely don't remember how to dress like an actual adult," she said. Her voice carried that edge of panic mixed with humor that had become her default setting since becoming a mother of triplets. Vivian Carson sat on the bed, legs crossed, coffee in hand, being both supportive best friend and brutally honest fashion consultant. "You wore real pants yesterday. That absolutely counts. Yoga pants are not real pants. In your current life situation, they absolutely are. They're practically formal wear." Vivian took a sip of coffee, studied Sloane's face. "You're nervous about tonight." "Terrified I have to give a speech in front of hundreds of people while wearing something that doesn't have spit-up stains. I don't know if I remember how to form complete sentences without someone interrupting to demand a bottle." Tonight was the annual Tech Vanguard Foundation Gala. Brennan's company was being honored for their philanthropic work. More specifically, for the programs they'd launched this year, helping women rebuild their lives after divorce. Programs Sloan had helped design, programs based on her own experience, her own journey from broken to whole. She was co-chair of the foundation now, had a real role, real responsibilities. And tonight she had to speak, had to stand in front of donors and board members and tell her story, the real story, the painful parts and the healing parts and everything in between. This one, Vivian pulled out a dress from the back of the closet, deep sapphire blue, elegant, sophisticated. The kind of dress that said, "I have my life together, even though I absolutely don't most days." Sloan took it, held it up. The fabric was beautiful, expensive. She'd bought it 6 months ago for this event, back when she thought she'd magically transform back into her pre-baby body by now. "I don't know if this still fits." Only one way to find out. She went into the bathroom, changed. The dress slipped on easier than she expected. Her body was different now, changed forever by carrying 3 humans, by bringing them into the world, by feeding them from her own body for 6 months until her milk supply couldn't keep up with 3 hungry babies. She had stretch marks, loose skin, a C-section scar that was still pink and visible. Her breasts were different. Her hips were wider. Nothing about her body was the same as it had been. And for the first time in her life, she was okay with that. More than okay. These marks were proof, evidence of what she'd done, what she'd survived, what she'd created. She looked at herself in the mirror. Really looked. The woman staring back was stronger than the one who'd existed before, more confident, more certain of her worth, more comfortable in her own skin despite all the changes. "Let me see," Vivian called through the door. Sloan emerged, self-conscious, waiting for judgment. Vivian's eyes filled with tears. "You look beautiful. Seriously, stunning. You're biased because you love me. I'm honest because I love you. There's a difference." Vivian stood, came closer, fixed a strand of Sloan's hair. "You're going to walk into that gala and every person there is going to see exactly what I see. A woman who survived something hard and came out stronger. A woman who built an incredible life from absolutely nothing. A woman who deserves every good thing that's happened to her." Sloan's throat tightened. "I'm going to cry and ruin my makeup." "Your makeup is waterproof. I made sure of it." Vivian smiled. "Now let's do your hair and get you ready to tell your story. The real story. The one that's going to help other women realize they can survive too." An hour later, Sloan was ready. Hair done, makeup perfect, dress fitted, heels that she'd probably regret by the end of the night. She looked like someone who belonged at a high society gala, like someone who had it all figured out. The irony wasn't lost on her. Brennan arrived home from the office, still in his work clothes, immediately headed upstairs to change. He stopped when he saw her. Just stopped, stared. "Wow," he said, "simple, true. Wow. That's very articulate for a CEO. You've rendered me speechless." He came closer, took her hands, looked at her with that expression that still made her heart skip. "You're the most beautiful woman I've ever seen, every single day. But tonight you're absolutely breathtaking. You haven't even seen yourself in your tuxedo yet. Wait until I see you in formal wear and we'll see who's breathtaking." 20 minutes later, Brennan emerged in his tuxedo, and Sloan had to admit, breathtaking was accurate. He looked distinguished, powerful, like someone who ran a $400 million company. But when he smiled at her, he just looked like Brennan. Her Brennan. The man who'd changed diapers at 3 in the morning and sang off-key lullabies and loved her so completely, it still sometimes made her cry. Elizabeth and Richard Sinclair arrived to watch the babies. They'd volunteered, insisted, said they needed grandparent time and Sloan and Brennan needed adult time and everyone would benefit. "Are you sure?" Sloan asked for the third time. 3 9-month-olds it's a lot. "We raised 3 children," Elizabeth said, calm, confident. "We can handle 3 grandchildren for one evening. Go. Enjoy. Be adults. Remember what that feels like." Connor was already reaching for his grandfather. Ethan was showing his grandmother a toy truck with great enthusiasm. Nora was studying both grandparents with her usual serious expression, and assessing, evaluating, and determining if they were trustworthy. "They'll be fine," Richard assured them. "We have your numbers. Dr. Morrison's number, the hospital number, the numbers of 3 different neighbors. We're prepared for anything." Okay, we're going." Sloan kissed each baby. Connor, Ethan, Nora. "Mommy loves you. Be good for Grandma and Grandpa. I'll be home soon." "Define soon," Brennan whispered as they walked to the car. 4 hours maximum. Maybe 3. Definitely not more than 5. "We're going to sneak out after your speech, aren't we?" "Absolutely we are." The drive to the venue was quiet, comfortable. Sloan's hands were shaking slightly. Nerves, anticipation, fear mixed with excitement. "Your speech is going to be perfect," Brennan said. He knew her well enough to know she was spiraling internally. "What if I forget everything? What if I freeze? What if I start crying and can't stop?" "Then you'll be human and people will connect with that. Your vulnerability is your strength, Sloan, always has been." The venue was stunning. Historic building in Manhattan, high ceilings, crystal chandeliers. The kind of elegance that made you feel underdressed no matter how formal you were. People were already arriving, donors, board members, staff, everyone in formal wear, everyone smiling, networking, the sophisticated dance of high society charity events. Sloan and Brennan entered together, her hand in the crook of his arm. United front, partners in everything. Wesley Price found them immediately, efficient as always, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Sinclair, Mrs. Sinclair, right on time. The cocktail hour is starting. Dinner is at 7. Speeches begin at 8. You're scheduled third, Mrs. Sinclair, after the board chair and Mr. Sinclair." "Third," Sloan repeated. Her stomach flipped. That's good. That's fine. Third is fine." "You're going to be brilliant," Wesley said. He'd become a friend over the past year. Not just Brennan's assistant, but part of their extended family. "I've read your speech. It's powerful, authentic, exactly what people need to hear." They mingled during cocktail hour, talked to donors who'd funded the new programs, board members who'd supported the initiative, staff members who'd implemented everything. Sloan was good at this, always had been. She could read people, make them feel seen, valued, important. But she wasn't performing anymore. Wasn't pretending to be someone she wasn't to make others comfortable. She was just herself, and somehow that was enough, more than enough. A woman approached, mid-40s, elegant, nervous energy. "Mrs. Sinclair, I'm Jennifer Harrison. I went through your program, the Fresh Start Initiative, 6 months ago." Sloan's attention focused completely. "Jennifer, it's wonderful to meet you. How are you doing?" I'm good, really good." Jennifer's eyes were wet, emotional. "I wanted to thank you, personally. Your program gave me resources and support when I had nothing. When I thought I had nothing. The job training, the counseling, the childcare assistance. It saved my life. Literally saved my life." "You saved your own life," Sloan said gently. "We just provided tools. You did the work." But I needed someone to believe in me first, to tell me I could do it. Your program did that. You did that. Jennifer paused. I have a job now, a real career. My daughter and I have our own apartment. I'm taking classes at night, building a future. And it's all because someone gave me a chance when I thought I was out of chances. Sloan hugged her. Tight, genuine. I'm so proud of you. So proud. And I'm glad we could help. That's exactly why we started this program. To remind people they're capable of more than they imagine. After Jennifer left, Brennan squeezed Sloan's hand. That's why you're doing this. That's why tonight matters. Because your story helps people like Jennifer realize they can survive too. Dinner was excellent. Sloan barely tasted it. She was too nervous, too focused on her upcoming speech. She'd written it, revised it, practiced it in the mirror. But standing in front of hundreds of people and being vulnerable was terrifying. The board chair spoke first, thanking donors, outlining the foundation's accomplishments this year. The programs launched, the lives changed, the impact measured in both numbers and human stories. Then Brennan spoke about the importance of giving back, about using success to create opportunities for others, about building a company that valued people over profits. He was articulate, compelling, the natural leader he'd always been. Then it was Sloan's turn. Wesley gave her an encouraging nod. Brennan squeezed her hand one more time. Vivian gave her a thumbs up from across the room. Sloan stood, walked to the podium, hundreds of eyes on her. She had note cards, prepared remarks. But standing there, looking out at all those faces, she set them aside, decided to speak from the heart instead. Good evening, I'm Sloan Sinclair. And 2 years ago, I was a completely different person. The room quieted. People stopped their side conversations. Focused, listened. I was lost, broken, convinced I wasn't worthy of love or success or happiness. I just ended a marriage that had slowly killed my spirit over 5 years. I was starting over, completely over, alone, terrified, with no idea who I was without someone else defining me. She paused, breathed, continued, her voice stronger now. I won't lie to you and say the divorce was mutual or amicable or one of those easy separations you read about. It wasn't. It was painful, devastating. I spent months questioning everything. Was I too demanding, too needy, not enough somehow? Did I fail? Was I the problem? The answer was no to all of it. No, but it took me a long time to understand that. Too long, because our society tells women that if a relationship fails, we didn't try hard enough, didn't sacrifice enough, didn't make ourselves small enough to accommodate someone else's ego. A ripple went through the audience, recognition, understanding, especially among the women. The Tech Vanguard Foundation's mission is to help people rebuild their lives after crisis, to provide resources and support during major transitions, to remind people they're capable of more than they ever imagined. That mission is deeply personal to me because I've lived it. I've been that person sitting in a divorce attorney's office wondering how I'd survive. I've been that person awake at 3 a.m, convinced I'd never be happy again. I've been that person who had to rebuild everything from absolutely nothing. She looked around the room, made eye contact with different people, connected. And I found help, not just in my incredible husband, who appeared in my life when I thought I'd never trust anyone again, but in a community, in friends who refused to let me give up, in therapists who helped me process my pain, in programs exactly like the ones we fund through this foundation. The Fresh Start Initiative specifically provides resources for women leaving difficult marriages, job training, counseling, childcare, legal assistance, financial planning, all the practical things you need when you're starting over with nothing. But more than that, it provides something invaluable. It provides belief. Someone looking at you when you're at your lowest and saying, I believe you can do this. I believe you are strong enough. I believe you deserve better, and I'm going to help you get there. Her voice cracked slightly, emotion pushing through. That belief saved my life, and now I get to be that person for others. I get to look women in the eye and say, you can survive this. You can rebuild. You can become who you're meant to be. And then I get to watch them do exactly that. So when you donate tonight, when you support our work. Know that you're not just funding programs, you're giving people permission to start over, to become who they were always meant to be, to build lives they actually want to live instead of lives they're just enduring. She paused. Final words, most important words. You're reminding people that endings can be beginnings, that pain can be transformed into purpose, that broken pieces can be rebuilt into something even stronger than the original. That's not just charity, that's changing lives, that's saving lives. And I'm grateful to every single person in this room for being part of that mission. Thank you for believing in this work, for believing in second chances, for believing people can change and heal and transform their pain into something beautiful. Thank you. She stepped back from the podium. For a moment, silence, complete silence. She'd said too much, been too vulnerable, too honest, too raw. Then the room erupted. Applause, loud, sustained, people standing. A standing ovation that went on and on. Some people were crying, others were nodding vigorously. Everyone was moved. Sloan returned to her seat, shaking, emotional, overwhelmed. Brennan was crying openly, didn't care who saw. When she sat beside him, he pulled her close, held her, whispered in her ear, "That was perfect. You were perfect. I'm so proud of you, I can barely breathe." I didn't use any of my prepared remarks. What you said was better, real, true, exactly what people needed to hear. After the speeches, people approached Sloan in waves, wanting to talk, to share their own stories, to thank her for being brave enough to speak truth publicly. An older woman, maybe 65, took Sloan's hands. "I stayed in my marriage for 42 years. 42 years of being diminished and dismissed and told I was never enough. I finally left 3 years ago. Best decision of my life. But I wish I'd heard your speech 30 years ago. Maybe I would have been brave enough to leave sooner." A young woman in her 20s said, "I'm not married, but I'm in a relationship that makes me feel small. Your speech made me realize I don't have to stay. I don't have to keep trying to be enough for someone who will never see my worth. Thank you." A man in his 50s approached. Unusual. The program was primarily for women, but not exclusively. "I went through a divorce 5 years ago. My ex-wife told me I was too emotional, too sensitive, not man enough. Your speech reminded me that leaving someone who diminishes you isn't failure. It's survival. Thank you for that." Story after story, person after person, each one sharing their pain, their journey, their gratitude. Sloan listened to all of them, really listened, held space for their stories, reminded them they were brave, they were strong, they were worthy. This was why she'd told her story publicly, why she'd been vulnerable, why she'd risked judgment, because her pain could help others. Her healing could light the way for someone else. Around 10 o'clock, Brennan whispered, "Ready to make our escape?" "God, yes, I miss the babies." "I knew you'd say that. Car is already waiting." They said their goodbyes, thanked the organizers, made promises to follow up with donors, then slipped out, back to the car, back to their life, back to what mattered most. The drive home was quiet, comfortable. Sloan's head on Brennan's shoulder, his arm around her, both processing the evening. "How do you feel?" he asked. "Exposed, vulnerable, powerful." She laughed. "All of it at once. Is that normal? For someone who just told hundreds of people their most painful story?" "Yeah, that's completely normal. I meant every word. I know you did. That's what made it so powerful." They arrived home. The house was quiet. Elizabeth met them at the door, finger to her lips. "All three are asleep, finally." Connor went down at 8. Ethan fought until 9:30. Nora watched us the entire time to make sure we were trustworthy. "Any problems?" "None, they were angels." "Well, Connor and Nora were angels. Ethan was Ethan, but we managed." Elizabeth smiled, warm, genuine. "How was the gala?" "Sloan gave the most incredible speech," Brennan said, pride clear in his voice. The whole room was crying. "I'd expect nothing less. She's extraordinary." Elizabeth gathered her things. Richard joined her. "We're going to head home. You two should sleep while you can. They'll be up in approximately 6 hours demanding breakfast." After Brennan's parents left, Sloane went upstairs, kicked off her heels, changed out of the formal dress into yoga pants and an old t-shirt. Felt like herself again. She checked on the babies. All three sleeping soundly in their cribs. Connor on his back, arms spread, completely relaxed. Ethan curled on his side, thumb in his mouth. Nora on her stomach, face turned toward the door, always watching even in sleep. "We made them," she whispered to Brennan. He'd come up behind her, arms around her waist. "Three perfect humans. How did we get so lucky?" "Luck had nothing to do with it. We chose this, chose each other, chose to build something real." They stood there in the doorway, two people who'd found each other after heartbreak, who'd built a family from very broken pieces, who chose each other every single day and every single night and every moment in between. Later in bed, Sloane couldn't sleep. Her mind was racing, replaying the speech, the conversations, the connections made. "You're thinking too loud," Brennan said, half asleep, pulling her closer. "Sorry, tonight felt important, like something shifted." "It did. You told your story, owned your journey, helped other people realize they could survive too. That's huge. I used to be so ashamed of the divorce, of failing at marriage, of not being enough to make Grant stay." Her voice was quiet, honest. "But tonight I wasn't ashamed. I was proud. Proud of surviving, proud of rebuilding, proud of becoming who I am now." "You should be proud. You're incredible. And I'm grateful every single day that Grant was too stupid to see what he had, because his loss was my gain. And I'm never letting you go. Promise, we propose? Promise forever." She fell asleep in his arms, safe, loved, home, exactly where she belonged. And for the first time in her entire life, she believed she deserved it, all of it, every single good thing. That was the real transformation. Not the speech, not the applause, not the recognition, but the internal shift, the belief that she was worthy, that she deserved love, that her pain had purpose, that her story mattered. She'd become exactly who she was meant to be, not despite her past, but because of it, through it, transformed by it, and that was everything. The first birthday party was Kate's. Beautiful chaos. The kind that made you want to pull your hair out and cry and laugh all at the same time. Sloane stood in her backyard watching three one-year-olds toddle around like tiny drunk people. Connor was cautious, taking careful steps, studying the ground before each movement. Ethan was fearless, running, falling, getting up immediately to run again. Nora was strategic, moving with purpose, always with a destination in mind. Three different children, three different personalities, three different ways of experiencing the world. "I can't believe they're one already," Vivian said. She was helping set up the food table, coordinating the absolutely excessive amount of food Sloane had prepared. "Didn't you just give birth like yesterday?" "It feels like yesterday and also like a million years ago." Sloane adjusted the banner. "Happy first birthday," complete with photos of all three babies from newborn to now. How has a whole year passed? Because time moves differently when you're not sleeping. Days are endless. Years are seconds. The backyard was decorated in their chosen theme. Animals. Not specific animals, just animals. Because choosing one thing all three babies liked was impossible. So they went with general animals and hoped that covered everything. Guests started arriving. Brennan's parents, his siblings and their kids, Sloane's parents who'd flown in from California, her sister with her family, friends from before the babies, friends made after the babies, Wesley with his boyfriend, Dr. Morrison who'd become a family friend, even Nurse Rosemary who'd been in the delivery room, and Sterling, Grant's brother, who'd maintained his friendship with Sloane throughout the year, who sent birthday gifts for the babies, who'd become an honorary uncle despite the complicated history. Sterling, Sloane hugged him, genuinely happy to see him. "I'm glad you came. Wouldn't miss it." Where are the birthday children?" "Connor is examining the grass. Ethan is probably eating dirt. Nora is judging everyone's party outfits." Sterling laughed. "Sounds about right based on the videos you send." He'd kept his distance from Grant, made it clear his friendship with Sloane wasn't about his brother, wasn't about the past, was just about two people who genuinely liked each other maintaining a connection. "How's your mom?" Sloan asked. Judith had been in and out of the hospital this year. Complications from her hip surgery, getting older, frailer. "She's doing okay, sends her love, sent gifts for the babies. She wanted to come but couldn't travel." Sterling paused. "She talks about you often, with regret, with respect. She's proud of you, even if she didn't show it when it mattered. Tell her I appreciate that, and I hope she's feeling better soon." The party was loud, chaotic, full of people and laughter and babies everywhere, not just hers. Other friends had brought their children. Cousins were running around. It was beautiful pandemonium. Connor's cake smash was methodical. He touched the cake, examined the frosting, tasted it carefully, then proceeded to deconstruct the entire thing with scientific precision. Ethan's approach was pure enthusiasm. Face first, hands everywhere, cake in his hair and ears and somehow on his back. He loved every second. Nora was skeptical, touched the cake, decided it was acceptable, ate delicately with her hands, never made a mess, always in control. "They're so different," Sloane's mother said, watching with obvious pride. "Three completely different people. How did you get three completely different people from the same pregnancy?" "Genetics are wild," Sloane agreed, "but I love watching them become themselves. Love seeing who they are beyond just my babies." Later, when most guests had left and only close family remained, Sloane sat on the grass with her three one-year-olds. They were exhausted, covered in cake and dirt and happiness, but fighting sleep the way babies do. "Happy birthday," she whispered to each of them. "Connor, Ethan, Nora. 1 whole year. You've been in the world for 1 whole year, and you've made it so much better." Brennan joined her, sat beside her. They were surrounded by the debris of the party, torn wrapping paper, empty plates, balloons drifting lazily, the evidence of a day fully lived. "This was perfect," Edie said, contentment in his voice. "Absolutely perfect. We did good. We did, at parenting, at life, at building this family. We did so good." That night, after the babies were finally asleep and the house was cleaned and they collapsed on the couch with wine, Brennan asked, "Are you happy?" "What kind of question is that?" "A serious one. Are you happy? Really? Truly? Deep down happy?" Sloane thought about it. Really thought. "Yes. I'm exhausted and overwhelmed, and sometimes I want to run away to a spa for a month, but yes, I'm genuinely happy." "No regrets? About giving up your career for a while? About stepping back?" "I didn't give up my career. I adjusted it, paused parts, continued others. And no regrets." She turned to face him fully. "I'm exactly where I want to be, doing exactly what I want to be doing. I have my consulting work, my foundation role, and 3 babies who need me. I have everything. Somehow I have everything. You deserve everything. I'm starting to believe that." The following weeks were a blur. Typical life with 3 one-year-olds. Endless activity, constant movement. Someone always needed something. But there were moments, small, perfect moments. Connor figuring out how to stack blocks. Ethan's belly laugh when Brennan tickled him. Nora taking her first independent steps. Moments that made all the chaos worthwhile. Sloane had started working more. Her consulting practice was growing. She was helping multiple nonprofits with strategy and fundraising. Working from home when the babies napped. Taking calls during their independent playtime. Finding a rhythm that worked. The foundation was thriving. The Fresh Start initiative had helped 73 women in its first year. 73 women who'd rebuilt their lives. Found balms, gained independence, transformed their pain into new beginnings. Each success story felt personal, like a validation that her own pain had purpose, that sharing her story mattered, that vulnerability could create real change. One Tuesday morning, nothing special, just a regular day. Sloane took the babies to the grocery store, an adventure that required military-level planning. The massive triple cart, diaper bag, snacks, toys, Back up everything. They were in the cereal aisle. Connor was pointing at colorful boxes. Ethan was singing loudly, very loudly. Nora was judging other shoppers' choices with her serious one-year-old expression. And Sloane was laughing, not performing, not pretending, just genuinely laughing at the beautiful absurdity of her life. She turned the corner toward the dairy section, saw him, Grant Hartley, standing in front of the milk, looking at his phone, older, tired, alone. Her breath caught, not from pain, not from anger, just surprise. She hadn't seen him since the hospital, 1 whole year ago. He looked different, smaller somehow, less significant. Their eyes met, brief, neutral. He did a double take when he saw the triple cart, the 3 babies, the evidence of the life she'd built without him. He nodded, awkward, unsure. She nodded back, polite, distant. That was it. No words, no confrontation, no drama. Just 2 people who used to be married, used to know each other, used to matter to each other. Past tense, all of it. She continued to the dairy section. Didn't look back, didn't need to. Because he was exactly what he should be. A memory, a lesson, a chapter that had ended a long time ago. She got her groceries, checked out, loaded everything into the car. 3 babies, 3 car seats, 20 bags of groceries, the organized chaos of her life. Driving home, she thought about that encounter. How it hadn't hurt, hadn't triggered anything, hadn't even registered as important beyond mild surprise. That was healing, real healing. Not the absence of pain, but the absence of reaction. The ability to see your past and feel nothing. Just neutral recognition that this person existed and now they don't matter anymore. She pulled into her driveway, her home, the one she'd chosen with Brennan, the one filled with love and laughter and baby toys everywhere, the life she'd built from her own broken pieces. That evening, after the babies were in bed, she told Brennan about seeing Grant. "How do you feel?" he asked, always checking, always making sure she was okay. Fine. Genuinely fine. It was like seeing, I don't know, an acquaintance from college, someone you used to know but have nothing in common with anymore. That's good. That's healthy. It is, isn't it? I didn't feel angry or sad or vindicated or anything, just neutral. Like he's just a person who exists in the world but doesn't affect my life in any way. Because he doesn't affect your life, not anymore. He's your past. I'm your present. These babies are your present. This life is your present. Brennan pulled her close. And hopefully I'm your future too. You're definitely my future. You and 3 increasingly opinionated toddlers are my entire future. They sat together in comfortable silence, the kind that comes when you're with someone who understands you completely, who loves all your parts, even the broken ones, especially the broken ones. "I've been thinking," Sloane said, hesitant, testing the words, "about going back to school, getting my master's degree in nonprofit management. I could do it part-time, online, slowly, over a few years." "That's a great idea. You'd be incredible at that." "You think so?" "I know so. You're already incredible at it. A degree would just be official recognition of what you already are. A leader, a change maker, someone who transforms pain into purpose." She leaned into him, grateful, loved, supported. "Thank you for always believing in me, even when I don't believe in myself." That's what partnership is. We take turns carrying each other. Right now, you're strong enough to carry yourself, but when you're not, I'll carry you, just like you carried me through that product launch crisis last month. That was different. That was work stuff. Doesn't matter, we're a team in everything, work, parenting, life, all of it. 2 months later, Sloane enrolled in a master's program, part-time, online, flexible enough to work around 3 toddlers and a consulting practice and foundation responsibilities. It was hard, really hard, studying after the babies went to bed, writing papers during nap time, taking exams while Brennan handled all 3 children solo. But it was also fulfilling, challenging, proof she could still grow and learn and become more. The next year passed in a blur. Babies became toddlers. Toddlers became small children with big personalities. Connor was the thinker, always analyzing, always planning. Ethan was the entertainer, making everyone laugh, lighting up every room. Nora was the leader, determined, strong-willed, knew exactly what she wanted and how to get it. Sloane finished her first year of graduate school, strong grades, engaged in her classes, loving the intellectual challenge. The foundation continued to grow. They'd helped over 200 women now. 200 lives changed, 200 new beginnings. And Sloane had found her purpose, her calling, helping others heal the way she'd healed, creating pathways for people to rebuild, reminding everyone that endings could be transformed into beginnings. One evening, almost 2 years after the hospital encounter, Sloane received an unexpected letter. The envelope was cream-colored, expensive. The return address was a law firm she didn't recognize. She opened it carefully. Inside was a letter from Grant. Her first instinct was to throw it away, but curiosity won. She read, "Sloane, I know I have no right to contact you, no right to take up any space in your life, but I'm writing anyway because I need you to know something. Not for you, you don't need anything from me, but for me, Eddie, for my own healing and growth. I've been in therapy for 18 months now. Real therapy. The kind where you have to face your demons and take responsibility for your choices. And I've learned things about myself. Hard things, painful things, true things. I destroyed our marriage, not because you weren't enough, because I was too afraid to be vulnerable. Too focused on external success to appreciate what real success looks like. Too committed to work to commit to you. Too broken to accept love, even when it was freely given. You deserved so much better than I gave you. Better attention, better presence, better love. You deserved a partner who showed up, who chose you, who saw your worth and reflected it back to you every single day. I didn't do that, and I'm sorry. Not because I want you back. I understand you've built a beautiful life without me, but because you deserved an apology, a real one, without excuses or justifications or self-pity. You were an incredible wife, patient, kind, supportive. You gave me everything you had, and I took it for granted. Took you for granted and lost the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm learning to be better now, to be more present, to value people over profits, to show up for my relationships instead of just existing in them. I'm dating someone seriously, someone I'm trying to love better, to be better for. And every single day I use what I learned from failing you to try not to fail her. That's my punishment and my growth. Knowing exactly what I lost, knowing exactly what I did wrong, and spending the rest of my life trying to be better. I hope you're happy. I know you are. I saw your foundation's work online. Read about your graduate program, Barrett program. Saw photos of your beautiful family. You're thriving, and I'm genuinely glad. You deserve to thrive. Thank you for the years you gave me, even if I didn't appreciate them at the time. Thank you for teaching me what love looks like, even if I couldn't receive it then. Thank you for surviving our ending and becoming someone even more incredible than you already were. I wish you every happiness, every success, every good thing. You've more than earned it. With respect and regret, Grant. Sloane read the letter twice. Felt relief. Not forgiveness exactly. She'd already forgiven him for herself, but acknowledgement, validation, confirmation that it really wasn't her fault, that she really had been enough, that his choices were his responsibility, not hers. She showed it to Brennan. Let him read it, waited for his reaction. "How do you feel?" he asked, his usual question. Validated. He finally admitted it was his fault, his choices, his failures. She paused. But also glad he's growing, glad he's in therapy, glad he's trying to be better. Not for me, for himself, for whoever he's with now. Are you going to respond? No, I don't need to. This letter was for him, to ease his guilt, to complete his healing. I don't owe him anything, not even acknowledgement. You've healed completely, haven't you? From all of it. I think I have. Finally, completely. Not because of this letter, but because I don't need this letter. Don't need his apology. Don't need his validation. I already know my worth, already know it wasn't my fault. Already know I deserve everything good in my life. She filed the letter away. In a box of memories from that time. Things she didn't look at often, but kept anyway. Evidence of the journey, proof of how far she'd come. That weekend, they took the kids to the park, their favorite spot, the one with the big playground and the lake view. Connor immediately went to the swings, always the swings. Ethan headed for the slide, racing, competing with himself. Nora went to the sandbox, building, creating, designing. Sloane sat on a bench with Brennan, watching their children play, living their lives, being exactly who they were meant to be. "I'm proud of us," she said. Simple, true. Proud of what we've built, who we've become, how we love each other and these kids. I'm proud of us too, especially you. You took something broken and made it beautiful. We both did. You were broken too when we met. Your divorce, your pain, your walls. And you helped me heal, just like I helped you. That's what partnership is. Mutual healing, mutual growth, mutual choosing. A family walked by, young couple, pregnant woman. They were holding hands, looking nervous and excited, the way you do when you're about to become parents for the first time. Sloane remembered that feeling. That mix of terror and anticipation. Not knowing if you'll be good enough, strong enough, patient enough. And she wanted to tell them, you won't be good enough sometimes. You'll make mistakes, have bad days, question everything. But you'll also have moments of pure joy, perfect love, absolute certainty that this is exactly what you're meant to be doing. But she didn't, because they needed to discover that themselves, needed to walk their own journey, make their own mistakes, find their own way, just like she had, just like everyone did. Later that evening, after the kids were in bed and the house was quiet, Sloane stood in her favorite spot, the doorway of the nursery, watching her 3 children sleep. They were so big now, not babies anymore, real children with thoughts and opinions and entire personalities. In another year, they'd start preschool, then kindergarten, then the world would have them more than she did. But for now, for this moment, they were hers, her babies, her miracles, the lives she'd brought into the world from love and intention and hope. Brennan came up behind her, arms around her waist. Familiar, safe, home. "What are you thinking?" he asked. His usual question. "That I'm grateful for all of it, every single part. The pain, the healing, the growth, the love, these babies, this life, everything. Even Grant, even the divorce, even the hard parts. Especially those parts, because they made me who I am, taught me what I needed to learn, led me exactly where I needed to go." She turned in his arms, looked at him directly. "If I hadn't married Grant, I wouldn't have learned what I didn't want, wouldn't have developed the strength to leave, wouldn't have been ready for you when you appeared, wouldn't be who I am now." "So you're saying Grant was necessary?" "In a way, not him specifically, but the experience, the pain, the growth that came from it. That was all necessary to shape me, to prepare me, to make me worthy of this." She gestured around, their home, their life, their family. "You were always worthy of this." But I didn't know that, didn't believe it, had to learn it the hard way. She smiled, sad but true. Some lessons can only be learned through pain, through breaking, through rebuilding yourself from absolutely nothing. They stood there in the doorway, 2 people who'd found each other after heartbreak, who'd chosen each other every day since, who'd built something real and lasting and true. "I love you," Brennan said. Simple, true, the way he said it every day. "I love you too, more every day. I didn't know love could grow like this, deepen like this, become more instead of less. That's because this is real love, not the fairy tale kind, the grown-up kind, the kind that chooses and keeps choosing even when it's hard." They went to bed, exhausted, fulfilled, grateful. 2 people who'd figured out how to love well, how to be partners, how to build a life worth living. And Sloane fell asleep thinking about her journey. From that broken woman in the divorce attorney's office to this, wife, mother, student, advocate, healer, whole. She'd become exactly who she was meant to be, not despite her pain, but through it, because of it, transformed by it. She'd taken her endings and made them beginnings, taken her broken pieces and built something beautiful, taken her pain and given it purpose. And that was everything, more than she'd ever imagined possible during those dark days after her divorce. She'd survived, she'd healed, she'd thrived, she'd transformed, and she'd done it all herself with help, with support, with love, but ultimately through her own strength, her own determination, her own refusal to stay broken. That was the real victory, not revenge, not vindication, not proving anything to anyone, just choosing herself, choosing healing, choosing to believe she deserved more, and then building that more with her own two hands. That was power. That was transformation. That was the kind of justice that actually mattered, the kind that changed lives, starting with her own. And as she drifted off to sleep in her husband's arm, in the home she'd chosen, with 3 babies sleeping down the hall, she knew with absolute certainty this was exactly where she was meant to be. This was exactly who she was meant to be. This was exactly the life she was meant to live, not in spite of her past, but because of it, through it, transformed by it into something stronger, something better, something whole. And that was the real ending, the real beginning, the real everything. She was home, finally, completely, forever home. So that's Sloane's story, from broken wife to thriving mother, from someone who thought she'd never be happy again to someone who built happiness from her own broken pieces. Here's what I want you to think about. Who in your life needs to hear this story? Who's going through their own divorce, their own heartbreak, their own moment of wondering if they'll ever be whole again? Share this video with them, because sometimes people need to hear that endings can be beginnings, that pain can transform into purpose, that you can survive what feels unsurvivable. And if this story resonated with you, if Sloane's journey reminded you of your own, drop a comment below. Tell me what part hit hardest. What moment made you feel seen? I read every single comment, every single story, because your healing matters too. Hit that like button if you believe in second chances. Subscribe if you want more stories about real people surviving real pain and coming out stronger. Share this with someone who needs permission to start over. And remember, you're not defined by who left. You're defined by who you became after they did. See you in the next story. Until then, keep choosing yourself. Keep healing. Keep believing you deserve more. Because you do, you really do.